All right, I want to welcome everyone to our live Saturday morning presentation. Now, we want to be looking at how to understand as well as market nitric oxide therapy. So the first part of today's presentation is I want you to understand what nitric oxide therapy is. And then I want to show you how to market nitric oxide therapy, especially using a tool and technique that you have available to you in your back office from Synergy Worldwide, where you can get a list of all your existing customers and their email addresses if they're on file, and be able to then create an email that you could send to people to begin to create this interest in nitric oxide therapy. So the first thing I want you to understand is to give you what we call a definition. You know, when a person asks you, well, what is this nitric oxide therapy? Well, it's all about improving blood flow. So nitric oxide is all about improved blood flow. Now, there's some facets to how this works, but from an overlying definition, nitric oxide is all about improving blood flow. And there's two pathways to achieve this. There's the endothelial pathway, which is the one that we're most familiar with, which is using the lining of your cardiovascular system, what is called the endothelium, to create nitric oxide. That endothelium is only one cell thick, but it lines all of your vascular system. And the key nutrient that's used is the amino acid L-Arginine. L-Arginine is converted by the enzymes of the endothelium into nitric oxide. Now, the other pathway that's used is what's called the nitrate-nitrite pathway. This pathway uses enzymes in the digestive system to convert nitrates to nitrites, which can then be converted to nitric oxide. And the key ingredient for that is beetroot. That is, in the marketplace, there's now over about 200 products that have been designed to boost nitric oxide levels in a person's body. A lot of them use the endothelial pathway and they're direct competitions to us. But then there's the beetroot group, the group that uses this nitrate-nitrite pathway. And that group, Dr. Nathan Bryant is most likely the biggest name in that group. When he first started out, he was pretty aggressive from the standpoint of saying to people that the endothelial pathway was dysfunctional, especially if you're over the age of 40. And he got called out on it. And so he's certainly softened his stance as people have called him out on that issue. But he's a big proponent of the nitrate-nitrite pathway and tries to make people think that this is the best pathway. So it brings us to this question. Which pathway has the greatest potential to create nitric oxide? And I'm going to give you my opinion. And my opinion is definitely the endothelial pathway. The endothelial pathway will always be the best pathway for the creation of nitric oxide. And why is the reason for that? It's because of the surface volume of the endothelium. There's approximately 60,000 miles of the vascular system. All that vascular system is lined by the endothelium, this one cell tissue. Your capillaries are just extensions of the endothelium. So if you pulled all the endothelium out and you laid it down on a flat surface, it would have the surface volume of about a football field. Depending upon the size of the individual, larger people would have a larger surface volume than smaller people. But on average, that surface volume would be almost a football field. Think of that. Within your body, you have a football field worth of lining called the endothelium. And because of that, yes, there is damage that occurs to the endothelium over time that reduces its ability to create nitric oxide. The beauty is that when that endothelium is properly nourished, so that it can begin the process of creating more nitric oxide because you're giving it the right ingredients, then you can begin to initiate reparative mechanisms to bring more of that endothelium back into a healthy functioning tissue, which then allows you, if you're properly nourishing it, to create more nitric oxide. So this is the reason why I believe that of all the systems in the body for creating nitric oxide, the endothelial pathway is the better of the two pathway. The other reason why the endothelial pathway is better for the creation of nitric oxide is there are other ingredients that can help this pathway create even greater amounts of nitric oxide. Those ingredients are L-Citrulline, vitamin C, vitamin D3, vitamin K2, pomegranate fruit juice concentrate, grape skin extract, red grape polyphenol extract. Now, the first one up there, the L-Citrulline, is critically important. If you want long-term production of nitric oxide through your endothelium, you want to combine L-arginine with L-Citrulline. If you do that, you'll get greater nitric oxide production over a much longer period of time. I don't have on here the metabolic pathway for L-Citrulline in the creation of nitric oxide, but basically, this is how it works. If I have only L-arginine present and no L-Citrulline, then once the L-arginine is converted to nitric oxide, it's a one and done process. But if I have L-Citrulline present, the L-Citrulline will take the metabolites off of that conversion and reform L-arginine so it can then go back through the nitric oxide pathway to create more nitric oxide. So that's why L-Citrulline is critically important. The other reason why it's important is that if you use only L-Citrulline, you can still create nitric oxide because the liver will convert L-Citrulline to L-arginine, which can then be used by the enzymes of the endothelium to create nitric oxide. So the two most critical components to this process of using the endothelial pathway are the amino acid L-arginine and then the amino acid L-Citrulline. Now, these other ones also support this process. Vitamin C helps the enzymes of the endothelium function better. Vitamin D3 and K2 work together to regulate calcium levels in the bloodstream because calcium is critically important for this reaction. It's what's called a calcium-dependent reaction, meaning that if I have L-arginine present, but I'm missing the calcium component, then the enzyme can't work properly, and so it can't convert the L-arginine to nitric oxide. So calcium is extremely important in this conversion process to make the enzymes work properly. And so vitamin D3 and K2 work together to regulate calcium levels in your bloodstream. And then things like pomegranate fruit concentrate, grape skin extract, red grape polyphenol extract, all those help improve the enzymatic activity of the endothelium to produce higher levels of nitric oxide. You will see peer-reviewed clinical studies in each one of these areas showing increased production of nitric oxide. So this is why the endothelial pathway is a much more robust pathway for the creation of nitric oxide, is because of the large amount of surface volume that you have that can be repaired. And then if you give the endothelium the ingredients that it needs, it can begin to optimize its ability to create nitric oxide. When you come to the nitrate-nitrite pathway, this pathway does not have any other ingredients that can help increase its nitric oxide production. Beetroot or some type of nitrate, because you can get other forms of nitrate than just beetroot, but beetroot is the most effective pathway or most effective ingredient for the creation of nitric oxide by going down this nitrate-nitrite pathway. So you'll see that most of these companies use beetroot as their primary ingredient. However, they all understand that the creation of nitric oxide through the nitrate-nitrite pathway is a short-lived pathway. Just like the creation of nitric oxide on the endothelial pathway, if I only use L-arginine as the only ingredient in the endothelial pathway, it is also a short-lived pathway for the creation of nitric oxide. Usually, if I'm just using L-arginine, I'll have a 2-hour window of improved nitric oxide production. And then within 4 to 6 hours, most people are back to their baseline levels of nitric oxide. So they get a temporary increase in blood flow, but they don't get long-term lasting benefits. The same thing applies down to the nitrate-nitrite pathway. If I'm only using beetroot, I'm going to get the same window of opportunity for creating nitric oxide as I am through the L-Arginine pathway. And then it goes downhill, because in the beetroot cycle, or I should say in the nitrate-nitrite cycle, I only get about 25% reconversion, meaning that once I've gone through the nitrite-nitrite pathway and created nitric oxide, those metabolites, only about 25% of them can be reformed into nitrate to go back down through this pathway. So it's a very short-lived and ineffective pathway for long-term production of nitric oxide. Because of this, you will see most of these companies that use beetroot, they will also include the ingredient L-Citrulline. And if you see them then bash or make negative comments about the endothelial pathway, you can definitely call them out on it. Because if they're using L-Citrulline in their product, they're doing it for a reason. They understand that the beetroot pathway, beetroot using the nitrate-nitrite pathway, is a short-lived pathway for the creation of nitric oxide. And if they want to get any long-term production of nitric oxide, that's why they include the L-Citrulline, because they know that the liver will convert it to L-Arginine, and then the L-Arginine will go down through that same pathway that they're telling people is dysfunctional. It's disingenuous at best, and I'll leave it at that. Now, when we look at the nitrate-nitrite pathway, some of the other issues are the following. There's key bacteria in your mouth that are necessary to start the conversion of nitrate to nitrate. However, these bacteria are destroyed by most mouthwashes. So if a person uses a mouthwash, then even if they're using the beetroot pathway, the nitrate-nitrite pathway using beetroot, they're not going to get a lot of conversion to nitric oxide because they don't have the bacteria in their mouth to start the conversion of nitrate to nitrite. The other problem in this pathway is stomach acidity. Now, for young people, it's usually not an issue. But as people age, stomach acidity goes down. And as stomach acidity goes down, you become less effective in creating nitric oxide through this nitrate-nitrate pathway. The other issue is that there's a lot of medications that people use because their stomach acids are out of whack. And so they're using Prilosec or Tums or Pepcid AC to control their stomach acids, to reduce their stomach acidity. And all of those medications then reduce stomach acidity, which then has an effect on this nitrate-nitrite pathway. So I go back to this thing when I'm looking at my two pathways for the creation of nitric oxide, the endothelial pathway versus the nitrate-nitrite pathway. Again, I'm a firm believer that the endothelial pathway is always going to be the best pathway because of the large surface volume of the endothelium and the number of ingredients that can be used to help increase nitric oxide production. Whereas in the nitrate-nitrite pathway, you're defined completely by a nitrate, which is typically beetroot. And there's no other ingredients that you can use in that pathway to improve it. And that's why you have to use other ingredients on this list up here to increase nitric oxide production through the endothelial pathway if you want your product to be more effective. And then there's these counterbalancing forces like bacteria in the mouth and stomach acidity that also affect your ability to create nitric oxide. So with that said, what are the three key properties of nitric oxide? And these are three key properties that you really need to understand and know. And the first property is nitric oxide relaxes the smooth muscle of the vascular wall to dilate the blood vessels for improved blood flow. This is the primary and most important function of nitric oxide, is to act as a vasodilator. If I vasodilate the system, I reduce resistance to blood flow, which for most people that have blood pressure issues helps them bring their blood pressure back into the normal range. So nitric oxide therapy is a key way to help people naturally bring their blood pressures back to normal, because as they increase their nitric oxide levels in their vascular system, they're able to then relax the smooth muscle of the vascular wall to dilate the blood vessels for improved blood flow. Property number 2 is that nitric oxide keeps blood platelet cells from sticking together. This helps to reduce your risk for strokes and heart attacks. Doesn't mean that you won't ever have a stroke or won't ever have a heart attack, but it does significantly reduce the risk for it. So nitric oxide does this naturally, what the medical field tries to do with baby aspirin. And in fact, the thinking on baby aspirin has changed completely. Now it's not as recommended as what it used to be, because what they found from long-term use of baby aspirin is that people can bleed to death because aspirin keeps the blood platelet cells from sticking together. And so a person gets cut or injured internally and they continue to bleed because they can't coagulate their blood properly. That's not going to be the problem when you have a healthy endothelium. A healthy endothelium produces nitric oxide to vasodilate the system. A healthy endothelium produces nitric oxide to keep blood platelet cells from sticking together. But if you're cut or if you're internally injured, then the endothelium will create a chemical called the von Willebrand factor, which is necessary for blood clotting. And so your endothelium actually regulates clotting in your system. So when your endothelium is healthy and functioning properly, it does a marvelous job in making sure that you clot properly when you need to. And then property number 3 is that nitric oxide helps to initiate repair mechanisms to heal damage to and then help maintain the endothelial cells. So as I work with a person who maybe has a dysfunctional endothelium because they haven't applied this nitric oxide therapy, as I help them take in the right ingredients to properly nourish the endothelium and the enzymes of the endothelium that are functioning properly, I can then begin to increase nitric oxide levels in their vascular system. As I increase those nitric oxide levels, I improve blood flow. So more of my body gets the oxygen and nutrients necessary. Those nutrients, ones that I'm bringing into my system to help optimize nitric oxide, then get to more areas of the body where the endothelium can then convert that to nitric oxide. As I begin to increase my nitric oxide levels in my vascular system, I then can initiate reparative mechanisms to heal damage to my endothelium and to maintain the health of my endothelial cells. So depending upon what my age is, like I'm 68, there's no way I'll ever get back to my 20s with regards to my nitric oxide production. But I can certainly get back into my late 40s by using nitric oxide therapy, by properly nourishing the lining of my vascular system with the right ingredients to optimize nitric oxide production. I can then do a significant job in helping to regain the health of my vascular system. And if I'm continuing to nourish it with the right ingredients, then optimize its ability to create nitric oxide back at a younger age. And that just improves blood flow. And anything that you can do to improve blood flow improves the health and function of every organ in your body, your brain included. So how do you market this? Well, there's a lot of different ways that you could go about marketing this. I'm just going to show you one today, and then we'll open this up for questions. So as we become aware, in your back office, you have the ability to pull up your customers, and you can run you can create a data file on your customers where you can get their names and their email addresses, and if their phone numbers are available, you can get all that information, and you could then run a campaign. You know, I wouldn't suggest that you do a blanket campaign. For example, let's say that you have 200 customers in your back office and you have 200 names with 200 email addresses. I don't suggest that you do a 200 email blast, but I do suggest that you use an email and then like anything, you do this on a consistent basis. You send out 5 to 10 emails on a daily basis, Monday through Thursday. Don't bother on Friday. Don't bother on Sunday, Saturday, or Sunday. Just Monday through Thursday. So if I'm doing 5 to 10, I'm doing 20 to 40 emails. So if I'm doing 20 emails, it would be a 10-week program. If I'm doing 40 emails, it would be a 5-week program, where in 5 weeks or 5 to 10 weeks, I could go through all the customers on my database if I had 200. And here's my suggestion to you. Subject line. A subject line is extremely important because a lot of people read their subject line and make a determination whether they're going to open up that email, especially if it's from someone that they don't initially recognize. So my subject line would be always a question, because once you ask a question, you plant a question in a person's mind, and their mind wants an answer. So your probability of getting a person to open up your email increases significantly when you use a question. So I would just use the question, do you need to improve your blood flow? And the reason why I picked that as opposed to blood pressure or anything else is because improved blood flow applies to a lot of different types of health issues. And because of that, my opportunity to get people to open up my email, I think, increases than to say, do you have diabetic complications from poor blood flow? If a person's not diabetic, it doesn't apply to them. So, if a person's looking, if it's a male looking for improved sexual function, yeah, improving blood flow would be something. And if you use the word sex in your subject line, you'll most likely have your email go into spam. So, this is a generic subject line that really applies to multiple health issues. And then here's my email. Dear John, whoever the customer is, many people are beginning to learn the importance of good blood flow to help them improve their cardiovascular health and overall wellness. Did you know that there is a miracle molecule that can do just that? Question. In fact, the 1998 Nobel Prize in Medicine was awarded to 3 American researchers for discovering how this simple molecule regulates most of your cardiovascular health. It's called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide provides you and your loved ones with these 3 key properties. 1, nitric oxide helps to relax the vascular wall to maintain normal blood pressures. 2, nitric oxide helps to prevent vascular inflammation by initiating repair mechanisms to heal damage to the endothelial cells. 3, nitric oxide keeps blood platelet cells from sticking together to prevent blood clots, which reduces the risk for strokes and heart attacks. If you would like to learn more about nitric oxide therapy, then I would suggest watching this video. This is the generic video that we have on our on the website, Our Synergy Family, on the nitric oxide therapy page. And I've discovered the best product in the market for the creation of nitric oxide. It is Pro Arginine Plus from Synergy Worldwide. It is recognized by the medical community as, quote, as the best L-Arginine supplement in the world, end of quote. And Pro Arginine Plus has been clinically proven to produce higher levels of nitric oxide while also helping to prevent vascular inflammation. If you or a loved one need to improve your blood flow, then please call me. I can help you effectively address this issue with nitric oxide therapy through the use of Pro Arginine Plus. Have a blessed day, Dan, your name and phone number. And so, again, I'll give you the thinking for this email, and then we'll open this up for any questions that you might have. So I've already told you why I'm using a question in the subject line, and then I make a statement. So I follow this, what I shared last week with regards to the technique or principle in the art of asking questions is to use a statement followed by a question. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm using a statement. Many people are beginning to learn the importance of good blood flow to help them improve their cardiovascular health and overall wellness. So I'm using a statement that has factual backing to it, that also implants a seed within that person's mind that there's other people that are looking or have discovered this information. And then I ask my question, do you know that there is a miracle molecule that can do just that. So that's the premise of the start of my email: statement, question, and then I come back to another statement that is designed to provide validity to what I'm talking about. And that validity is, in fact, the 1998 Nobel Prize in Medicine was awarded to 3 American researchers for discovering how this simple molecule regulates most of your cardiovascular health. It's called nitric oxide. And then once I've done that, I want to give the 3 key benefits of nitric oxide. This could maybe be shortened a little bit with regards to what I've got here, but you can play with the 3 key benefits. You just need to understand what the 3 key benefits are. In the first key benefit, again, relaxing the vascular wall to maintain normal blood pressures. There's a lot of people who deal with high blood pressure. At least a third of the adult population of America is dealing with high blood pressure. Almost all diabetics are dealing with high blood pressure issues. If a person is driving a truck, especially if they're driving a truck that is a semi, they are completely aware that they need to work on maintaining normal blood pressures because they can't get their license every 2 years. Their license every 2 years is a requirement that makes sure that their blood sugars and their blood pressures are in the normal range. And then again, preventing vascular inflammation, preventing blood clots. And I come down here with, if you would like to learn more about nitric oxide therapy, then I would suggest this video. Again, this is the video that we have up here on our website for our Synergy family. This is the nitric oxide therapy marketing page. And here's the video. What is nitric oxide therapy? This is a generic video, meaning that at the end of it, it doesn't brand to me at all. It just brands back to you as a person who shared this information. Contact that individual. There's a lot of other great resources that are on this page with regards to videos, but I don't want to spend time on that page. You can all go to our Synergy family and find that and go through the page and choose things that you feel are best for you from a marketing standpoint. And then I am introducing ProOxygen Plus, and I do it from a discovery standpoint. I've discovered the best product in the market for the creation of nitric oxide. It is ProOxygen Plus from Synergy Worldwide. And then what I want to do after I make that statement is I want to validate that statement. And so I validate it in 2 ways. One, it's recognized by the medical community, quote, as the highest L-arginine supplement in the world, end of quote. And then secondly, I validate it with the fact that it's been clinically proven to produce higher levels of nitric oxide while also helping to prevent vascular inflammation. And then I have a call to action at the end. If you or a loved one need to improve your blood flow, then please call me. I can help you effectively address this issue with nitric oxide therapy through the use of ProOxygen Plus. So again, I want to put my improved blood flow in the context of nitric oxide therapy, and then in the context of my product of choice, ProOxygen Plus. So with that said, do I have anyone that has any questions with regards to nitric oxide therapy or how you might want to market nitric oxide therapy? You'll have to unmute yourself. I don't want to unmute everyone because we'll have too much background noise.
So Dan, I just wanted to make a comment that this, what you outlined today definitely works. I have an 800 number and I have a video that has the 800 number. And I received a call yesterday from someone in Lakewood, Colorado. And we spoke for about 15 minutes and he bought a Jumbo Plus One.
Great.
So this works. Actually doing the videos and having someone watch it and talking to them about all the stuff that you mentioned today. Yeah.
And especially if you email to your existing customers, because at some point in time, they bought something from Synergy Worldwide, they wouldn't be on your customer list. And maybe it has become a refreshing. I mean, I had you talked yesterday that someone called you from, I think you said Lakewood, California, or Lakeland, or not California, Colorado.
Yes.
So I had a customer, an old customer, hadn't bought from me for, we're in 2018 was the last time he bought from me. And he discovered my magnet, because whenever I have a new customer and I send to them directly, I send them my business card, but I also send a refrigerator magnet, because the business card can be thrown out, but a lot of times people use the magnet and throw it up on their refrigerator to hold stuff on the refrigerator. So anyways, he came across the refrigerator magnet. The product worked so well for him that he wanted to get back on it, and he got a Jumbo Jar +1. So again, you know, the value of going back to your existing customers is good. And then if you have a reason why and can share with them current information and help to help them to regain their interest in wanting to improve their blood flow, you know, you just increase your probability of success. So thanks for sharing, Judy. Anyone else have anything that you would like to share or ask before we say goodbye for today's presentation?
Hi, Dan, it's Donald.
Yes, Donald.
Thanks for knocking out this video. I'm sorry, and the email. I plan on using my customer list, and this would be an excellent email to tweak and send to my customers, my existing customers.
Yeah, so today's recording is being recorded. When it goes out on Tuesday, you'll not only get the recording of today, but I'll also make this PDF available to you so that you can then go down here and copy and paste the email and then make whatever changes that you want to make to it.
Great. Thanks again.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anyone else before we say goodbye? All right. I don't know what our topic is going to be for next Saturday, but by Tuesday, when I send out the newsletter, I'll have that determined. And then it's Thanksgiving for us here in the United States. If you're in Barbados, you can also have Thanksgiving on Thursday if you'd like. But here in the United States, Thursday is Thanksgiving Day. It's a great day for family and friends, and it's a great day to eat some good turkey. And if you're into pumpkin pie, great. I'd prefer apple pie than pumpkin, but it's just a great day for family gatherings. So everyone have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you next Saturday. Bye-bye now.